Sometimes all somebody needs is a second chance.
Making a movie, it's a bit like a little incarnation, a little lifetime unto itself. You know, and you get very close with people, and it was a wonderful experience.
He just needs to learn how to be a horse again. All these actors, all these crew people, they're here for one purpose, to make a good film.
Kind of small, isn't he? Gonna look a lot smaller in a second, Georgie.
It's unbelievable. I go to work and I go, wow, I hope I'm not the weak link here because everybody else is doing such a fine job.
This horse couldn't win a church raffle, let alone a $2,000 allowance.
It was a thrill. You're telling a massive period story with a massive number of people over huge locations all across America.
He is a great horse.
We don't know that yet.
Though he be but little, he is fierce.
Just try to feel it. He'll tell you when he's ready.
Come on, Biscuit!
And away they go.
At this point in the race, he's broken ahead of War Admiral to the amazement of everyone. Thundering down the back stretch a couple of lengths ahead. War Admiral fighting vainly to catch up. And that's what we're going to be shooting again.
I was sent the article that Laura wrote called Four Good Legs Between Us, which was written for American Heritage magazine. And along with that came a book proposal, and I was knocked out by it. Not so much just the racing, but the unbelievable detail and color that she brought to the era and how she wrote about the era and those times.
I thought I had a great story to tell. I thought this had a beautiful cinematic arc to it, that it was really an amazing story that was worth hearing. But I thought people wouldn't give it a chance because it's about a racehorse.
The book provided an enormous amount of detail and background that the article did not have, but Laura herself is the biggest resource. And her apartment or house in Washington is filled with boxes and boxes and boxes of material, and she just knows so much about it.
When you adapt a book, what you're really being faithful to is the intentions and the spirit of the book. And that's the thing I wanted to make sure that I was honoring.
There's no way to tell the story exactly the way you do in the book. It's a 400-page book. There's a lot that needs to happen to craft this into a movie that's a watchable length. And right away when I started reading it, I was just filled with rapture. It's so lyrical and beautiful, and he has taken what is a wonderful story and he has infused it with his creativity.
Great job, everybody.
We had to decide, okay, how many Seabiscuits do we need? So we came up with needing 5 Seabiscuits to run, so we would always have a fresh Seabiscuit, because Seabiscuit was in every race, obviously. And then we had 5 sort of special interest Seabiscuits, one who could sleep, one who could be feisty. So there's really a total of 10 Seabiscuits on the whole movie.
Action, guys, concentrate. Get ready, Corey, get ready to ride.
Filming horse racing is different than filming traditional movie horses in westerns or another kind of scene. Not to say that that isn't also difficult, but with race horses, they're that much more highly strung. They're thoroughbreds. These are bred to be competitive and fast. Neither of which you really want. We wanted some horses that look really great and go maybe a little bit slower.
All of this thinking could not have happened without Chris McCarron. Chris McCarron, who's also one of the best-known jockeys today, he was instrumental in helping us define what our approach to the movie would be technically with regard to the horses.
In the beginning, my responsibilities were such that I would sit in on the race design meetings with Gary and Rusty the Wrangler and Dan Bradley, the stunt coordinator, and we would put together on paper what Gary's ideas were. From those notes on the paper, a plan of playbooks was developed, and we've used these playbooks throughout the racing scenes.
We've got like a 400-page shot list, and I will tell you what, we have pretty much stuck to it. Gary and I spent about 2 months every day for 12 hours a day visualizing this movie, and it's been working out great.
Wow.
I want a maroon. They only had bright red.
Oh, it looks great.
In a movie like this, what the movie looks like has as much, if not more, to do with costume design and production design. Because you're looking at the people, and they establish so much of what that era is.
This is one of the largest films I've ever done with the amount of extras we have to dress every day. We did go to costume houses all over America, England, and Italy. I would say we have almost 38 rental houses from across the world. Our Howard silks, which is what Tobey wears, are accurate. They are copied from the Howard silks.
It would look really silly, me showing up in my sweats and t-shirt and acting the scenes out. The wardrobe supports my performance, not only visually for someone who's watching it, but internally for me. It helps me fit into the role better and feel it and feel like I'm in the situation.
We can always spread it around if we have to.
Janine's job is very difficult here because it's taking existing locations and dressing them up in a period way. Some of it's done CG, some of it's done practically, but she has to try to make real places work. She's not building from the ground up.
I've done a lot of period movies, some in the 30s, some during the Depression, some in the 40s. There's lots of stuff left to be found and to be fixed. But then you have to go there and you have to make huge long lists of what has to be fixed and altered. And then whatever you cannot find, then you have to negotiate over what wants to be built.
The sets that Janine Opperwald created for this film were just so inspiring, you know, to go into Charles Howard's ranch at Ridgewood in this magnificent room that she created where we have a big party scene. It's so great. The detail is just remarkable, and you look at that, it makes you feel that you really live in that place.
The scope of the story is enormous, and that alone is a challenge. The more specific challenge, though, is how do you tell these horse races in a way that is faithful to what Laura did? Because what Laura did in the book is she made people understand this isn't the race you're used to seeing from way up here in the grandstand, and you just see these little horses run around the track. If you really got in there, it's rough, it's violent, it's exciting, it's dangerous. You've got to be able to get inside that so that all the nuances, the acting, the emotional drama, the complexities, all those things play. So I had to be able to get down there and shoot the real thing.
Son of a bitch!
One of the things I realized is I'm going to have to be able to film Tobey seeming to be on a racehorse, interacting with the jockeys around him, often having dialogue. All those things require an intimacy. I have to get the camera here. I asked Michael Lantieri to see if he could commission a vehicle for me. Basically a flatbed camera platform that could move around the track so I could put Tobey in the context of other horses around him, as well as the grandstand, the world whizzing by, and really put him in the environment.
These are two equicizers. I took them all apart, rebuilt the frames, put motors on them, and sculpted thoroughbred heads to put on them so we could have lifelike horses that would go down a track. It has all the controls for every aspect of the horses. It can run the horses forwards and backwards, put them together for a bump or an inquiry, make their heads change speed.
I've been dying to do that all week.
We put the entire crew on here and go for the ride, and because it's built like an aircraft carrier, we call it the SS Seabiscuit.
Oops, there's my hole. Gotta go. Ah!
Every race that we run is a race that's in the history books. The form of each one of those races is written down. So it's very important that we have these scenes choreographed as close as we can to the original race.
The arm will be overhead. I had horse rehearsals for a week before we ever actually started shooting because I wanted to know that it's the best method of working.
Ricky, you're 5 in front, Ricky.
Without horses, the guys in the camera car would all pretend to do what they were doing, and the jockeys would run along the ground as if they were on horseback. Everybody knew where they were supposed to be relative to all the other pieces, and it's the thing that made it safe. And maybe one of the things I'm most proud of is that there was not an accident on our movie. And I think one of the reasons is that we rehearsed it so well.
Every now and then I get involved in a movie where I have a certain idea from a technology standpoint of what it is we're trying to accomplish. But when I get into a cutting room and I see a sequence cut together and it goes way beyond what my imagination was telling me the experience was going to be like, that's very rare.
Editing to me is almost like the writing process in a way. You're there, you muse, you try things, you try other things, you sort of digest it.
Gary and I have had so many discussions, You know, basically from the beginning of the script writing process up until the time the scene is shot, that all that is in my head when I'm cutting anyway.
And let's steal these guys and pack the rail tighter.
Billy and I have such a tight relationship. We're very good friends, in addition to working together. It's one of the few things where I don't feel like the director and he's the editor. It's like I feel very much like we're colleagues.
I would say the day of the match race is one of the defining scenes in the movie in terms of style and also in terms of excitement. You know, really what the movie's all about. You're following this race from the time you learn that War Admiral is this arch enemy, basically, at Seabiscuit, and then it's such a sort of wild journey to get there. When you finally get there, there's so much emotion wrapped up in the race, and it's really classically cut because I want those pieces to play longer. Because I don't want it to be incredibly chopped up like modern movies are cut and feeling like it's out of place within the period of the film. People who watch that particular scene, a lot of times are brought to tears. And I think that's just a credit to everybody, from the costumer to the director to the DP to everybody. And it all just came together, and it really, I think, defines what the movie is.
This is a story about people more than it is a horse story. I've felt the entire time that I've been working on this story that these people were looking over my shoulder and wanting me to get it right. And I felt when I saw the movie that they were looking over Gary's shoulder too and informing him along the way.
I always enjoy working with directors who have written the material because they're so steeped in the material. They have really done a lot of work on all the characters and their wealth of information. They have it right there at their fingertips.
Come on, boy. Come on. Come on.
It's funny because Gary Ross knows me so well. He wrote this with me in mind, and he knew this would appeal to me because I love all the jobs I've had in my past and wouldn't have done them unless I felt really passionate about it. But I was definitely looking for something that had some different elements to it, and this was just a perfect opportunity for me. It's great. I've been very fortunate.
Everybody that's working on this wanted to work desperately on this film from the beginning and from the first day. Gary has set the pace with his enthusiasm, and it's been wonderful, like, every day.
How you doing, Red? Georgie?
I've loved working with Jeff and Tobey and Elizabeth. I hope we've helped inspire each other to go the extra mile in this.
Have a nice ride, Johnny. Come on, Pops.
It's the closest thing I've had to what was in my head ever. There were so many moments when I would see Tobey and Chris Cooper interact, or Tobey and Jeff interact, or I would find a moment that was that resonant, and I just felt satisfied. I'd gotten every piece that I was looking for.
Come on, Ron!
I'm not always going to get a canvas this big to tell this emotional story with this many things that I love. I love the era, I love the heroism of the era, I love the sacrifice, I love the spirit. You don't always get a chance to tell this kind of a story. I knew I was lucky every day. You know, thank God this book was a bestseller because it allowed us to make this movie this way, and that was thrilling to me.
You don't throw a whole life away just because it's banged up a little bit.
What do you think, boy? You ready to go?
I'm very lucky that I had a movie that allows me to do something as enormous as staging what at that point was the largest sporting event in American history. And at the same time, investigate small emotional moments like when Howard loses his son. There's such a tragic irony in this, that the very thing that had created this man's fortune is also the thing that ended up taking his child from him. It becomes a very, very pivotal moment in the piece. I didn't really do it any differently when I would do a horse race. They both require the same preparation and the same sort of creative specificity early on in the process. What I like to do when I develop a shooting plan for the movie is sort of take the early parts of the prep to do it privately. At that point, I'm sort of pretending that somebody else wrote the script, you know, and I'm interpreting it as a way of having a sort of a set of fresh eyes. The shooting plan can encompass a lot of things. It can be the way I see the lighting. It can be performance notes. It can be blocking notes. It isn't just as dry and clinical as the shot list. There's so much more to directing a scene than just the shot list. When I make these notes, I'm still connected to the emotional intentions. I'll just talk to myself. I'll say a series of inserts, fishing pole inserts, rafters, loading the tackle box, showing his purpose now, pleasing his father, getting ready, all the material that will be scattered across the river bottom later. I understand that I'm using these inserts to set up something for later on. Last insert is the key in the ignition. His hand fights with the gear shift. It should probably be up angled to emphasize his shortness, craning over the dashboard. Again, if I just write in a shot list up angle shot of Frankie, I don't understand the intentions, but what I really want when I shoot that up angle shot is to sort of emphasize this kid trying to see over the top of a dashboard. So, whizzing by on the road, his car one way, the logging truck the other. Yeah, that would work great. See, so I'm sort of, I don't know if it would work great, but I'm kind of talking to myself right there saying, yeah, that's a good idea. Keep going with that, you know. Let's not show the collision. Let's not show it. Let's allow this to be in the imagination. Let's shift perspective into Howard's perspective at that moment, getting the phone call.
What?
The moment of the accident is not as important as the news of the accident. Howard racing toward the camera. The world has gone quiet now. I think it's often important to understand what you're going to do with sound before you ever shoot something, because sound and picture are so completely fused. Because sometimes some of the loudest things are a distant or a silent scream. The difference is that the sound is so low that it emphasizes the telephoto lens, so it gives you privacy and distance, which creates the feelings. Scene 76, the grave, very wide, beautiful. A tree is the marker. Don't get tight. Give them their privacy. So then those things then obviously turn into a shot list, which is more dry or clinical. But when you have both things, they enhance one another. One is almost the emotional roadmap to be able to read the other. Extreme wide angle, living room, day. Extreme wide angle, Howard across room. 2, tighter, he looks down at something in his hand. 3, Howard's POV, insert child's game. 4, game's POV, up angle at Howard. All of which is a pretty dry clinical shot list, but because I understood what the intentions were, getting closer into the intimacy of this game, which I discovered in the shooting plan, it's not such a dry clinical thing, you know, when I eventually do it. It seems like it's a massive amount of preparation that is pretty invisible. I mean, all of this incredible preparation, it goes into this one sequence, which is essentially silent. It's emotional, but it may last, I don't know, 30, 45 seconds in the movie. But one of the points is that you don't want the directing to show. Hopefully what someone is experiencing is a very visceral reaction to something. They shouldn't see you work. They should be engaged in the story and the people and the characters, and what you do cinematically is to enhance that so that they can get lost in the story.
And reaping reward 7. Here they come into the stretch. 3/16 of a mile to go. The crowd is screaming. They're in the final 16.
There were three sports in America in the 1930s. There was boxing, there was baseball, and there was horse racing.
On the outside, he's drawing away. He's an easy winner, and here comes the finish.
Horse racing has quite an ancient history for our republic. It had done pretty well in the early years of the 20th century. Then it was banned almost everywhere. And it was brought back in the Depression as a way to raise money for desperately depleted state coffers. Wagering was taxed. And that's when it really exploded.
We want to go back in time. I think it's part of human nature. Most every child's fairy tale begins with once upon a time, long, long ago. And very often, of course, once upon a time, long, long ago was not an easy time. The Depression is complicated, and more complicated than it appears on the surface. It was a failure on the stock market, to be sure, but it was also a failure brought on by overproduction and by lack of government participation in the economy that we have grown accustomed to today. And thousands of people were out of work, a quarter of the population out of work. A great part of the country was on the road, living in their automobiles. There were places in America where people were starving to death. In Kentucky, people were eating weeds to stay alive.
People were desperate for underdog heroes, something that looked like America itself. And along comes this horse that is as beat up as the country is.
I'm not afraid of you.
Seabiscuit was the most written about public figure in America in 1938 by newspaper column inches. Roosevelt was second, Hitler was third.
Holy cow.
This was a star that emerged, but he also became a folk hero because people who were down on their luck, who were written off as losers just the way he was, suddenly found hope or inspiration or a horse they could ride, right? And that's what happened.
Seabiscuit performing in the Massachusetts Handicap. You're seeing how the 5-year-old grandson of Man o' War has become top money winner of his time.
Seabiscuit is the son of a rather well-known horse named Hardtack, who was a son of a very, very famous racehorse named Man o' War.
Then there was Man o' War, one of the great race horses of all time.
Man o' War may have been the most extraordinary racehorse who ever lived. He was a freak. He was only beaten once in a 21 race career. He had a lordly, imperious, difficult temper. His trainer once said of him, he was hell to break, a headache to handle, and a catapult to ride.
Man o' War was owned by Mr. Riddle, who actually ended up owning War Admiral, who was the nemesis of Seabiscuit ultimately in the match race. Seabiscuit is a distant cousin of War Admiral. He's sort of Cinderella, if you will, at the ball, you know. He's the black sheep of the family.
Seabiscuit was not like his forebears. He looked and acted nothing like Man o' War, which was a great disappointment to everyone.
He didn't look like a racehorse. His legs were somewhat odd. He had none of the traditional markings of a champion.
Get rid of him.
He was very small, and so he was written off at birth. They decided that the horse was too puny, too scrawny to run, and because of that, never really gave him a chance. So Seabiscuit was a really terrible horse by the time he was already 4. He was running in what's called acclaiming races, where every horse in the race is for sale. It's the lowest rung of the horse racing ladder. He was entered in 3 cheap claiming races a week. I mean, this horse was abused in how hard he was run, and they just tried to squeeze as much cash as they possibly could from the horse, so he never had a chance to show his potential.
Isolator and Regal Lily lead the way as they splash for home. Never rated for mud, Seabiscuit makes a game bid in vain.
He was terrible. His first 17 starts he lost. When he ran, he would swing one foreleg out wildly to the side like he was swatting flies. The great-grandson of the owner said to me, "You can always recognize Seabiscuit in the films because he's the only one that doesn't look like a thoroughbred." He just didn't look the part, but you cannot see a horse's heart by looking at its frame.
That's a very American idea, that hidden inside you is huge potential that's untapped and undiscovered. And if only people have the understanding to explore it or to nurture it a little bit, what could possibly emerge? Damn. What happens if you give somebody a second chance?
Howard and his trainer look Seabiscuit over. Both are thrilled and excited. Here is the horse they have been looking for. Howard immediately contacted the Wheatley stable representative, and the price agreed upon was $8,000.
3 men, all of whom are broken for their own individual reasons, find hope in one another and in this horse. Red Pollard, who was abandoned at a racetrack at the age of 15. Charles Howard, who lost a son and was mired in his own grief. Tom Smith, who lost the West and was displaced from who he was. All of these people had immense obstacles coming in, and they form a unit, they form a bond, they form a team.
This is about talent, and talent comes in all shapes and forms. The talent of the horse, to be sure, but it took the talent of those people who were handling that horse to bring that into focus and make it work.
The great Seabiscuit's running today, and turf-minded Hollywood is here for the big event. Trust Bing Crosby and the movie stars to be on hand.
People really became enamored with Seabiscuit because when this horse emerged and started winning races, and he just raced constantly, week after week, it seemed like, he developed quite a following.
Well, I'm glad they finally have racing in California. Do they use Western saddles out there?
Well, racing's always had rivalries between the East and West. And back then, the East really was better.
The East Coast was where the Triple Crown winners had all come from. This is where the high-class racing was, and people thought of California racing as being a big step down. Sooner or later, there was going to be a collision between a great Western horse and a great Eastern horse, and it happened with Seabiscuit and War Admiral.
All Turfdom wants to know if Seabiscuit here can beat the great War Admiral. New York racing tycoons propose to stake a $100,000 championship match to find out.
40 million people were listening on the radio. That was 1 out of every 3 Americans.
FDR, the president, was one of those 40 million people who actually put his ear up to the radio and listened to Clem McCarthy's famous call of Seabiscuit drawing away in the stretch.
Seabiscuit, champion racehorse, another famous finisher.
There were 2 great quests of Seabiscuit's career. One was to conquer War Admiral, and the other was to win the Santa Anita Handicap.
Seabiscuit, world's second greatest money winner, points for the big Santa Anita races. Twice he's lost the $100,000 handicap by a nose. Now if those valuable pins can stand the gaff today, he'll try again.
He was coming back at age 7, which is the equivalent of your early 40s, an equine athlete. He was going to be facing horses who were 3 years old and at the peak of their careers.
And here's the big test, and the crowd wonders, can Seabiscuit hold his own? Will the old leg injury check his winning stride? And suddenly seems to falter, and then the Biscuit takes command. And boy, look at him travel. The old campaigner shakes them all off and rolls home, setting a new track record.
He ran the 2nd fastest mile and a quarter ever run in American racing history and set a track record at Santa Anita. At 7 years old. The record stood for 10 years.
Champ of them all, Seabiscuit's one of the all-time greats in the racing world.
Certainly the horse was the centerpiece of it, and There were plenty of people who could tell you everything about the horse who didn't know anything about the people around him. Red Pollard, though, his accidents were very public. They were very heavily covered. Red was actually declared dead after one fall. The life as a jockey in the 1930s was almost unthinkable. It amazes me that people wanted to do it. First of all, you had to starve yourself. You had to weigh as little as 100 pounds. At the absolute most, you could weigh 114 pounds, but you had to be one of the top jockeys to weigh that much.
I don't know, you still look pretty tall to be a jock.
I've never been over 115.
And they did terrible things to their bodies to lose weight. Red Pollard apparently swallowed tapeworms so that he could lose weight. They would desiccate themselves. They hardly ever drank water. That part of it was very bad. The danger was even worse. Between 1935 and 1939, 19 jockeys were killed on the racetrack. The tracks didn't take care of them when they went down on the track. They would be carried up and dumped on a saddle table, even if they were dying. It was a very, very hard life.
The life of the average jockey today is still a pretty rough life. You know, it's a very dangerous sport that we participate in. There are 35 accidents a week that happen to jockeys.
How many sports are you actually risking death? It's like, yeah, you hear about football players breaking this or that and playing through pain, but as a jockey, they're out there risking their lives every time they run.
I think the experience of wedding your mind to the body of an animal that can run sustained speeds of 45 miles an hour is such an enthralling experience that they're willing to torture themselves almost to death to do it.
When you go out there on the racetrack, it's you and the horse. No one else is involved. The trainer has done his job, and now it's up to me and the horse, and we have to bond. And when there is that bond between horse and rider, it's a thing of beauty.
If you really got in there, you'd find men who pound for pound are some of the strongest athletes in the world with amazing agility. They balance on the balls of their feet on these two little strips of metal, going at 45 miles an hour, slamming into one another. I mean, anytime you want to know what a jockey goes through, just sit against a wall for a few minutes and see how long your thighs can take it.
Very little about horse racing changes. It's a very tradition-bound sport. Racetracks look different because while they were built to accommodate these huge crowds that came to the races in Seabiscuit's era, they don't generally draw crowds like that except at the really big races now. There's off-track betting, there's simulcasting, which spreads your audience out. So the sport is healthy in terms of the finances, but it does look different now.
We have been extremely inventive, almost preoccupied at times with our machines. Nature has to it a kind of spirit or mystery, which we don't quite understand. And it's the horse that touches something in the human spirit in a way no machine ever can.
The real horse, Seabiscuit, comes along once in a century. You know, the horse took off as a folk hero that ended up meaning much more than just any particular horse race. It's also a classic underdog story. It's flawed human beings helping one another through their flaws, struggling against the odds. And struggle is an easy thing for people to understand.
I take pictures with a wide lux camera, and I thought it would be a nice gift for the cast and crew to give them a little photo album at the end of the picture.
Roll sound.
Apple's up, take one. 411, take one.
And camera speed.
Rolling camera. Quiet, please. Hold on.
Okay. Action. Start him out.
We didn't ask you where the keys
He doesn't
were.
have to start in the stall. He doesn't have. John, thank you for your support. He doesn't have to. He doesn't have to start in the stall. He can start under the shed.
Okay, cool. Here we go.
And then the other thing I would do is when he threw that look around, it was great. And then we're going to do a little pushing on you as the car does that. So
You'll watch me when I'm doing this, and you'll just yell car.
I don't know, man.
no, that's why they switch sticks.
Right.
That's why they switch hands. So you don't hit the other rider, right?
Right.
If you're in tight, you switch hands so you don't hit the other rider, right?
No, I think I'll get up here on this thing.
Oh, but this was great, Gary. Wait till you see it. It was perfect.
I know he said it. I know he said it.
Look at B back.
See, can we see the other camera? B? It's good.
This
That was
out
great.
here.
Right.
Don't do any of this.
That's okay. All that's good.
Okay.
Okay, we're ready to go. Huh?
Yeah, we're ready
Okay.
to have a go.
Great. Let's have a go. Just here. Can I borrow your hat, sir, for a second? Thank you.
Frank, come here and take my place, please. I was standing in
Hello.
the
It's a
Hi.
B-roll of us, so we have to act like
yes,
we're working.
yes.
This is a true documentary style.
Are we going to move the reduced unit? It's going to turn into the splinter.
And Greg, you're running through road.
Yeah, boy.
Okay.
When's my turn?
Coming up.
The first they called him Forgotten Men. He's just woken up, and George Wolfe, his other jockey friend, he's very angry. He walks away, kind of stumbles away, and then we go and do it.
Yeah, well, that's why when I was like, with my chin
Yeah.
going, you want to try and get that chin going. Little
Exactly.
quiver.
Cut. Good. Very good. Print that. Very nice. Yeah, print that. Excellent.
Yeah. Reset, team. Quiet, please. Reset.
Elizabeth, you go on my vocal action cue.
Make up
Are we going in it or are we just walking on it?
You're not doing anything. You're going up on that
No, but I
platform.
mean later.
It's that part of the movie. Right. And that's what you're looking at. So, let me try to.
Camera left. Here? Yeah. Okay. I have a V on my chest. Where is it?
I'm the ready-made. That's my life.
You gotta have a ballet. How'd it feel, man?
Not bad. I love this. Let's do this.
Pleasure.
And head out.
And then we'll stay here, and then maybe you make a little bit of move, and then I'll go, or something like that?
Yeah.
Does that sound right, or no?
Go ahead. You can take it.
Soft. Lock it up. Kill those engines. And.
Great. And I was told that the way you lit it too, it all looked very good. Yeah. I'm working on this stuff, man. I'm gonna drop another like 6, 7, 8 pounds.
Ready and action.
You know, not a flat run, but a pretty nice slope.
Good. Okay. You're gonna hold that. That's what you're looking at. So. Try to. So the order, because I'll just sort of tell you guys now, will be Elizabeth, then Jeff, then you, then Tobey. So you should probably go in first to the command module.
No. That is the best news I've heard in a long time.
I know, baby. It's good, huh? It's good. I know. You didn't know.
Well, thank you very much, TikTok.
Let's go.
Right there. Good. Got it. Okay.
Yeah. Perfect.
That's great.
Hey, Gary, you gonna leave my tumble in there? It was a good tumble, man.
You're all over it, baby. Cut. Thank you. Excellent print, Ben.
Jody.
Yes, Mr. Larson. Very good.